All right, so obviously this list has already kind of been announced already because this is later on the day on Friday, but we're gonna be doing a kind of a discussion over the ban list here, and we're gonna really just kind of go into it. I know we really haven't talked a lot, even though I just spent like the last 4 hours at your store playing
Nope.
cards.
I purposely did not
Yeah.
talk to you about it so we can have just like fresh conversation here.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it, and I've talked a little bit about stuff in our Discord, but this is gonna be a good video just for some good old discussion about some cardboard that we really care about.
Love cardboard.
So make sure you guys like and subscribe, of course. I'll leave a link down for Tan Man who's streaming. I'll leave a link down for you guys to check out his stream. He does bunch of card stuff. Plays.
I do like nothing. It's great. We're just starting out. We're getting there. You gotta start at the bottom, work your way up.
It's a process, so we'll go over that stuff. But I'll let you kind of lead stuff, and then we'll kind of go back and forth.
Lead stuff. All right. Well, so we're looking at the ban list. It was announced last night, like midnight, and first card on the Facebook page because everyone saw it on Facebook first is Beerus Godly Majesty, and it's a green rare from set 8. So it's not even a card that you can really acquire anymore, and it hasn't been reprinted. So this was the only way to get the card, and now it's banned. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah, this card I know you played launch a little bit, so obviously you played in launch. I don't know, their reasoning. This card creates offensive pressure without energy. Understandable. It mitigates the cost of other cards, therefore. So basically what it means is that there's cards that discard cards, and since you can play it off for free, it's just a free 15k. So they just decided to ban it. Now, the thought is there anything in the meta currently that's broken enough with this card? I don't think so, but maybe there's something missing from the Videl stuff, or in future decks, just overall, because this card can be played in any color. It's probably going to be something that's going to make this card a little broken, to where it's like, okay, I can swing with the double strike or something, and then I can just play a 15k, and now I have another body.
A big reason for a lot of the cards on this ban list, as they stated on their Facebook thing, was for future design space. And it's understandable with this card because a lot of cards in the future could force you to discard a card from your hand when you're using a battle card skill.
Yeah.
So that could be to accumulate more value with drawing cards, or in the case of how the card's currently played, I don't remember the name of it. It's an extra expansion card, Bardock, that you overwhelm for free. You discard the Beerus off of the skill, you draw 2 cards, and you also play the Beerus out.
Yeah, the
So
the 4-drop one. Yeah.
just massive value and offensive pressure for nothing. And with all the decks we have right now that are interacting with Overrealm, with Meki Kabora or Kai, it's just free value.
Yeah, this I think yeah, they definitely probably looked at their next 2 sets and you're like, we probably just need to get rid of this card. Like, it's not causing a problem right now, but eventually this card will be bad.
I mean, if you look at the last couple events or last couple sets, really, this card outside of the Bardock combo hasn't seen any play.
Yeah, so that's why it was weird. That was the one weird one where it's like, okay, I guess. And in 2 sets, when this card can be considered really good, no one's gonna remember, and it's not gonna matter because the card's been gone for a while. It was like there was
let's be honest, cards are removed, but they're never forgotten.
It's true. So we got next is Pan.
Which is just another card that didn't really see any play, but I can understand for design space in the future having to remove this card.
Yeah, the only thing that it was being used in was the aggro sin variants that were able to, because the deck awakens at 3, so they could just go down to 2 themselves, awaken, and whether it's the 8-drop or it's the TP triple strike guy that they can use to restand with that. And then this also is a 3 cost, so then it helps them go into Silzino easier. Or they play this and then they use this to restand Silzino. And being able to do that on like turn 2 or turn 3, depending on how good their hand is obviously way too good. So I get it. It's fine. The card was never being used for the way that it was supposed to. It was just being used for cheeky stuff. So yeah, I'm okay with it being gone. Outside of that deck, no one else played this. Like, there's no other reason for it.
If you didn't have your copy of the card yet, congratulations, you saved out. What was it, like $3?
Yeah, I think I bought 2 of these like forever ago because I'm like, these will be really cool, and I just never used them. Like, I don't want to awaken at 2 life. What's the reason for that?
So this next card, I don't like it. I don't like that it's banned entirely now, because it wasn't overwhelming in any events recently. Like, it has not performed to the extent where everyone's saying that this card needs to be banned. It was just performing. It was doing what every other deck is doing. Maybe 1 or 2 make top cut, and that's it. It just wasn't a big enough factor to extend from the ban in a best of 1 to banning it altogether.
Yeah, this seemed like a fanfare. Like, they're like, hey, we're not gonna, obviously we're gonna get to Mecha Frieza stuff, but it's like, hey, we're not gonna ban Mecha Frieza just yet, so we're gonna ban the next best thing, which is Green Reboot Gohan, because you guys have been asking about it since set 10 when it came out, or set 9 or whatever. Yeah, I think it's weird that they just decided to ban it now, because best of 1s, of course, the deck didn't need to deserve to be playing best of 1, like, that just was unfair. But best of 3s, it seems like people were able to sideboard stuff now. Like, they printed a Janempa card, that the 2-drop Janempa Shadow Warrior one that just stops it from being played. You have Release from Evil. You have Zamasu Super Combo. You have all of the free play token blocker negates. Like, you have so many things that actually work against this leader. I just think maybe they were just tired of... Because I'm sure Bandai just gets tired of people complaining about the same stuff over and over again. You're like, you know what, fine, we'll get rid of it. Go play the other, you know, however many good green decks there are in the meta, which currently there's only like 1. So it's like everyone's just going to play that deck now, and no one wants to touch this, which kind of sucks for people who, I guess, you know, dating back. Like, this is a really cheap deck. So
yeah, a lot of people like playing this deck.
Yeah.
It was a great entryway into the game. If you're like, hey, here's a cheap deck, and funny enough, this deck used the Beerus and the Bardock combo we talked about earlier. But
it's true. It's true.
It's just, this was a great entry point, and I understand they're trying to slow the entire format down, the entire game down, and maybe that's why they got rid of this card, just because it was a possibility to always be a fast turn 2, turn 3 kill deck.
Yeah. Yeah, I played it like at 1 or 2 events, I think, before I had our locals. It was fun, but it definitely teaches you, like, it's definitely not a conventional aggro deck because of Feat Kamehameha. I think if they just would have banned Feat Kamehameha, you could still play the deck.
Deck wouldn't be great at all.
Well, no, it wouldn't, but you could still be able to play it. Like, instead of, like, the problem was that you were swinging for 30 base crit, or 35 base crit triple strike. Like, that's not fun. That's like playing against burn damage or something. It's just not a fun interaction. So I guess I can understand, maybe.
But even if you ban Feat, we still have the Frieza that gives cards crit, but it's only a 5k combo instead of 15k.
Yeah.
So there's upsides, downsides to not banning the leader, Overall, in the future, we'll see if Bandai made the right decision. Maybe they'll take it off. Who knows?
I don't really want to talk about this next card. If we can just skip.
This is my favorite card to talk about, especially since it just got a reprint in a set and a reprint in a event pack. Like, this is fantastic.
I was so happy when I pulled. I have like 2 or 3 of the event packs. I'm like, oh, this is great. And now it's just sad. I'm so sad.
This card made such an impact in Mecha Frieza, and I can agree with maybe limiting it. I don't think you should ban it. Or a lot of people are saying limit it to, or errata text it to make it only viable for a U9 leader.
Yeah.
But I can agree with getting rid of it out of Mecha Frieza. I know you have some cheeky cards that still kind of do the same thing, but the removal of being able to play out Chappie and having that just free, I'm going to tap one of your cards, it is huge. It's definitely going to make an impact on Mecha Frieza deck lists.
See, the big thing So with playing, obviously, I play Mecha Frieza. Surprise, surprise. Like, I've played it a lot. The one thing that I've found, as more people have realized how good the deck is the people who know how to play against it, they just don't tap out. Now, granted, there's another card on this list that card being altered dramatically changes this card. Because it was easier to tap people out. But the fact that the people were just not tapping out, they're like, sure, I'll just keep an energy up. And then you have these cards in your hand, which is like, oh, cool, I'm still going to draw 2, but you don't get the second effect. People were playing around it. Now, though, unfortunately, obviously without the draw power, there are cards that still draw you 2. And I think Mecha Frieza is more so the card that should have been, even though I love the deck, it should have been touched in some way because this card wasn't the problem. I remember back in the day when Grade 8, the Saiyan Instincts card was like $100. And I said, hey, when this card came out, everyone at our locals, I'm like, hey, you guys should play this card because it's a better, cheap option. It was like $2 at the time. No one wanted to play it, but now it's like, hey, if you don't have Saiyan Instincts, you're screwed.
To be fair, when the card came out, Mecha Frieza wasn't a leader yet, so there wasn't as much demand for this card, and there weren't very prevalent yellow decks in the format.
Yeah, that's true.
But, yeah, funny enough, I had a event pack Saiyan Instincts, a monkey, on TCG Player for probably like a month and a half. And then as soon as this card gets banned, that card finally sells on TCG Player for me. I was like, hallelujah! It's about time.
It's so with someone who plays Mecha Frieza, my biggest thing, and I'll probably make a video going over the Mecha Frieza in general, but the biggest thing with Mecha Frieza is that now, without those, we'll say, 12 cards, because you take 4 U9s, 4 Chappies, and 2 Basils, you can still run Basil, just as a 1-drop cantrip who can, still get dual attack and 15k, but now you can run other things. Now you can put focuses on the Slug Engine. You can put focuses on other cards. You can run Grade 8 Bardock, the Warcry at 4. You can run more, blue yellow. Like there's more things you can do. The deck just won't have 18 cards in hand by turn 3. So it's fair. I'm okay with it.
With a slower format that it seems like Bandai is shooting for, we don't need to draw cards that fast. So it's not really that impactful that we're losing this card when the entire meta is going to slow down.
Mm-hmm. What we got next?
Moving on to the next card that went from the limited list to the banned list. I'm not crazy about it. It was fine at 1. I don't think it made that big of an impact, especially with green not being one of the big top decks.
What card are we going over?
Oh, are you on Master Roshi? You
No.
signed to Master Roshi.
Master Roshi's been banned.
Was he?
Yeah.
No, he was limited to 1.
No, he was banned.
I don't play green anyways. Sorry, that's what I'm saying. The card's irrelevant. All right, moving on.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the rest of the banned cards then that are new?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it. Okay. And then we can just flip through all the old cards that we miss. Gogeta, you'll always be missed. Oh my gosh, just went past Violent Predator.
We're at the limit stuff now with Heartfelt.
Yeah. Oh, there goes Turles.
Oh my god, that's a card. Oh, I remember buying a full foil playset for like $15-$20 a card. I was so happy. I was playing that the Demigra Black Storm with all the Universe 2 stuff. I'm like, this is great. They just ban it all. I'm like, all right, Bandai, fine.
So funny enough, they still have a banned in best of 1. Let's go on.
Whatever.
Oh, it's so dumb. Okay, so moving on, we have Heartfelt Plea.
Yep.
We are in the limited list, so all these cards coming up are limited to 1 copy in your deck. And first is Heartfelt Plea, which was really only played in
Dark Broly?
one or 2 decks now. Yeah, Dark Brawly, which isn't even what it was meant for, which is the reason it's limited, as they stated. It is a really powerful card, but it's also like limiting it to 1 means there's almost no reason to put it in the deck anymore, in my opinion.
Unless you could search it, which there's nothing that searches it so far. Isn't there one? There's one drop red Gohan that searches out. Yeah, probably.
I thought it was a Goku or something. There's a
it's a Goku.
So that might be the only way to pick it out, and nobody plays that stuff.
No, absolutely not.
So if you can find room in the future for a Heartfelt play in your deck, like if it's a really reasonable card to side in or to actually mainboard, go for it. But right now, the card's pretty much dead. It's going to drop in value. I guess if you don't have a copy yet, pick it up.
Isn't it weird that Bandai, like the whole Dark Broly stuff? I just don't know why you would make that 30k red. Like that's the whole problem. Like it's not even the heartfelt plea. If they just would have made that 30k red Dark Broly just black, it would be fine.
I mean, the reason was for the Toa deck, and it makes sense to go with the Toa expansion deck. Um, but overall, that's not what it's being used for until after the ban list.
Yeah, because now you can't even do that. Bardock, the Resolute, you okay? Close the door. Bardock, Resolute, the next card that was put on the limit list. I think this card's had it coming for a while, being a card that works very well with any form of burn red aggro strategy, i.e. King Vegeta. They just play Raditz
Young Invader.
They play
Young Invader.
one of the little midgets, and then it just burns you a life, and then they just play this for free. They just played a 15k double strike for free. That if you decide to negate at all during the turn, it just restands. So limiting that to 1 is fine. I think it will end up being a tech card, maybe, or maybe just people they just won't run it at all. I think 1's fine though. And what about you?
It's not overly powerful. I think the limit list is a hard one of. I think eventually we'll see 2 ofs, possibly in the future. It's not a drastic card that's going to change any kind of deck build or anything like that. So if you want to toss it in something, go for it. But the chances of drawing into it and having that opportunity to play it is just really small.
Yeah.
It's like that for like every card on this list, though. Like limiting a card to 1, like they're deeming it so powerful that if you see it, it's going to impact the game. But a lot of these just don't.
Well, the next card does, but I don't want to talk about it. Again, you can talk about that one.
I don't even think this card's that important. There's
no,
so
it
many.
is.
There are.
It's so important.
There are so many other cards in King Piccolo that I understand a 15k blocker barrier is a big deal, but if it's not this, they're just gonna play something else out for free.
Oh, so I think your list is messed up. My next card was Bergamo, not Drum.
Oh, mine's Drum. Wow.
Okay. So yeah,
next.
Yeah, Bergamo. No, I think Bergamo is the only one on this list that actually deems that slot of being a very good card as a one of. Even in the only deck that I would run this in currently as a one of would be Mecha. Like no other yellow deck, I'm just gonna run the Power of Super Saiyan because it's just better. It's a free card that taps something down and draws a card. But with all the tapping you do in Mecha, this card will still shut down an entire turn. Problem is, you only get it once. So I kind of consider this card, and you'll probably laugh at me, but this is Yellow's Baby Hatch.
I'm not gonna laugh, but no, I don't agree with that.
Like it is the card. If it hits the board, it will shut down a turn.
If it's being limited to 1, it's a lot less likely that people are going to start thinking about this card being played, rather than if it was at 3 or 4 and people are like, okay, he might have Bergamo now. Well, now it's okay, he might have X, Y, or Z cards, and Bergamo's like an afterthought.
Yeah, it just I wish one of these because again banning these this card could have been errata to say once per turn. It could have also got errata to say does it hit through barrier. There's different things they could have done outside of just taking this card out, because having the ability, again, to just tap cards, that's the whole idea of yellow, being able to tap cards. And unfortunately, our free counterplay is garbage.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh, it's terrible.
No, it's not.
It's only good against decks that play multiple cards off with skills. And then, because if you play it against green, they just play Frieza, and then they kill it. And then it's cool.
The only thing it doesn't hit is stuff with deflect, and that's not even most of the big boss monsters anymore. Maybe barrier's a problem, but you still have ways around that too. If we're talking strictly yellow, um, but just being able to rest something for free is always a threat because your unison is always going to be on board. This card, if they the limit's fine. If you made it a 3 cost to play out instead of a 2 when you tap something, I think that would entirely change the card.
Yeah, but then it's like not. Then it's not even worth running at all if it's 3.
I disagree. If it's that powerful of a card that it can shut down an entire turn, even if you're only playing 1 per turn, like 3 energy for it seems reasonable.
If I don't know, I don't agree. I think this card. I don't think this is one card in the entire list that I don't think should have been touched. Like in this way, I think this card should have been errated. I don't think like this card getting hit. I'm sure we'll see better cards in the future. I'm sure that in some aspect, but it's like I would rather play this card than play Bardock. Like the Warcry. I would rather just like tap something and then tap 2 to tap 2 other things instead of having to say, all right, I'll tap 2 for Bardock and combo for 10k and then play it. Hopefully you don't counterplay it and then draw a card and then tap something. Like the tapping was so much more, was so better because it would shut down a turn and then on your next turn you're like, great, I'm going in now.
I'm gonna say part of this is in response to Power of a Super Saiyan, because it is a free tap down a card that your opponent can't respond to. Like there is no I can't get to the combo phase. It's I can literally play this for free on my activate main and tap a card.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's. I mean, it doesn't make it makes sense that why they did it. I'm just greedy. I don't want my card to be touched. And then the other one obviously was Drum. So this card hurts the deck, but also I think it opens up more playability for stuff in the future. Because a lot of the times it seems like King Piccolo players, at least like middle of the ground King Piccolo players, they were just relying on playing out Drum. Like it's like, all right, I'm going to make sure every turn I can play a Drum out, and I'll block, and then I'll combo a Drum from my life on top of that Drum, and then that Drum dies, and I play another Drum. So with only having 1 now, most decks probably won't even run. They may not even run it, and they may go more towards playing out the 6-drop and playing more of a go tall strategy and using Tambourine to swing for bigger, and then using Symbol to draw more cards instead of just putting a big focus on Drum.
The only thing I see is that you're taking a card that is a blocker in a deck that already has multiple ways to negate attacks and end turns. So people can just take Drum, and if they're not playing Topo, they can replace 3 Drum with 3 Topo. Or they can take the 3 Drum out, and they can replace it with more Wolfang Fists, or more Violent Rays,
or 4 of the free negate TP.
Yeah, just there's just so many things that Red has access to that losing this 1 card, yes, it's a combo piece for them as well, that they can free play, but there's just a lot of other stuff they can add to the deck.
Agreed.
It frees up space overall.
Yeah, I think it's more so now it's gonna take people off who are just like, all right, I can turn my brain off and play King Piccolo. It's making them think now, like, okay, I can't just copy this person's deck on TCG or whoever or wherever, and now I need to learn how to actually play the deck a little bit differently and not just hide behind this barrier blocker that's like uninteractable. So it'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see if people are still playing the deck, and 2, how they're going to play the deck. Maybe they just add Topo, maybe they add something else. We'll see.
So the next card on my list is Hope of U7. I know we haven't talked about this since it ever happened. Sorry. 2? Okay. So how do you feel about Hope of U7 being limited when it was never really played?
This is the green U7 Goku. Okay. I think it's because the idea of being able to. So that Cell Surge, there was like a 2-week span where that Cell Surge, that like Goku lineage Cell Surge deck was like playing a lot. I thought it was very innovative to play it in the Cell Surge leader because that leader has had like a million different faces since it's been released. Mm-hmm. Probably the most played Surge leader, the most worked around Surge leader since like all the Surge leaders came out. Obviously, two got banned. One only plays one style, and the other one's not. One of them's not very good. The other one, red green. There's other options.
Let's say you're all over the place. Just
Yeah.
that one, just one.
Yeah,
no one
yeah,
knows
yeah,
what
yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about.
All the surge leaders, Goku and Piccolo got banned. There's Invoker, which only plays Invoker. There's Broly Surge, which it's still not a bad leader. Kefla is garbage, but I'm gonna say that because I still like playing the leader, so it doesn't matter. And then Cell, which is probably has the most uniqueness about it because it's the only one that doesn't have to draw. I mean, doesn't have to attack to draw, and it's a hand destruction based leader. So having that hand destruction archetype mixed with getting into the Hope of U7, which also rips cards from your hands, it's a little ridiculous. So, could you play Height of Mastery off of that?
With the whole combo, yes.
Okay.
I think.
Or Victory Strike. Which one was it?
You play Victory Strike off of this, but you could also get into Height of Mastery instead of this.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think it was.
There were two ways.
Because doesn't it, every time it swings, it just rips a card?
Yeah.
And it's crit?
Yeah, 3 swings, all crit. Every time it swings, rip a card.
Yeah, I think...
And a battle card. Or a battle card. It says
battle card. Yeah, so a triple attack crit that also rips a card every attack.
It doesn't KO something, it places it in the drop area too. So removed by a skill would still trigger, but yeah, it had the option to do all of that good stuff. But the difficulty to just play the card out was so high.
Yeah.
That limiting it to one makes it nearly impossible.
We can kill that card with fire, honestly. If I never have to see that card, even the artwork again, I'm okay with it. Like that needs to go in the closet with that rosy 3-drop deflect card that rips cards and the whole red Broly deck. All those cards that just all those cards that just crit and don't give you value, they could just go away. But yeah,
as much as you don't like that style of play, if they slow down the format, hand destruction is going to be way more viable now.
No, it is, and I think that's what they're trying to do. In some facet, I think they're trying to make green playable. And this is what they do: is all the colors fluctuate, and then once a color's not really good, they go, okay, let's maybe bring some stuff back up, and maybe it's just how the flow of the cards being revealed are too. So, but yeah, green will probably end up making a comeback. But thankfully, that archetype, I think. It was a cool idea, but I think now that it's weird, no one's playing the Goku lineage stuff now. Everyone's like, all right, yeah, this SS3 Goku, it's trash. We're not playing it because we can't go in the hope of, U7. So, kind of weird.
I would argue that just the overall archetype isn't great to start with, and with the big boss card being Height of Mastery overall, and Victory Strike, which whole ton of play. It's just not viable. One, the card's too expensive to get, Victory Strike, and 2, Height of Mastery is just not a great end-all be-all card.
No, it used to be really good, but now there's so many free negates and stuff. It's not nearly as good.
Yep.
We got Caplo next. We go Caplo.
Is that? I didn't even see that on my limited list.
It's a errata list.
Is it?
Yeah.
My top of my errata list is Videl.
Oh, we can go over Videl. That's fine.
I'm just that's what I got for scrolling down.
I think Videl's was just a text change because they calculated the text, which is good that they caught it.
I didn't really look into it. What is the change?
So the original text said, when this card attacks, draw a card, and then choose one of your green unisons and switch it to rest mode.
In active mode, got it.
Yeah, so they basically it was just a wording change. It doesn't impact anything at all.
It reduces a swing for the turn, I guess, overall. But, yeah, it's not a huge deal. Problem is you could play this, and it's not meant to be played with Demigra, but you could use Demigra, give it plus 5k, or 10k, so it's a 15k unison, and then swing with Videl and add that power.
Well, or Even better, you take Dark Broly and you swing with double 20k double strike, and then you give her 20k, and then yeah. So
What are you talking about?
the Dark Broly unison, the 20k.
Oh, the green one, the big fat one.
Yeah. So they basically took it away, so that's not an option. So what's the next card on your list?
Xenocell.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So this is cool. This was a I've been arguing about this card getting some form of errata for the last month, and it's been getting real annoying. The two sides of this argument was, one side was saying, hey, we should add some sort of energy cost to a free play quad strike deflect card. We had people who say that's not fair. Okay, I think this actually is a better errata than I could have asked for, honestly, for the card, because the problem was the card was getting cheated out way too early. Green and yellow have way too many access ways of playing stuff out for very, very free, or way less than what they cost, i.e. Bardock Raider's Warcry, the limited Bergamo now, you had Pan, and then you have the entire Sin deck. So being able to get into 12 energy is actually much easier than it ever really has been since the card came out. And now, if you play it before turn 5, this card has 40k in deflect, and that's it. And that's awesome. I think this is going to be the card that gets reprinted for the SCR slot, and everyone who paid $500 for Xenocell is going to be crying themselves to sleep because now they have a reprint of this card, and it's going to be like $50, $100, and they'll be happy.
So, because it's now an errata card, it qualifies under their category for their reprint errata packs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so stupid, but that's where we're at. As for the alteration in the skill, my experience playing this card, I never wanted to drop it before turn 5 regardless, because you wanted that rip 3 cards out. Like, that was a lot of your kill turn, like, guarantee to win the game effects. And I can definitely see with Aggro Sin being able to rush out 12 super fast, and other decks in the format that can push 12 out just as quick, that quad strike was a huge factor to take your opponent from, hey, I can't awaken until they swing again, to, hey, I can't negate this attack and untap because I'm already tapped out and they're swinging for 4.
Yep. I think this is just another indication, as you've said before, about they're trying to slow the game down. This is another card that made the game too fast. I've watched Blue Baby players in online tournaments play against Sin and get coolered twice, back-to-back turns, after negating and doing all this stuff and bouncing the cell back, and they're so easily being able to get Xenocell out. And that was the problem, is that it's free, and Cooler Swift Retaliation, which was a card people were calling to get banned because it's a counter, 3 energy, you play out this card for free, you swing, they negate, you Cooler, you win the game generally. But the fact that it now doesn't have quad strike means the way that you play the way that you've always played this card is the way that it's been naturally played, which is turn 5 and up. Every time you've played it.
It has, like, no doubt, it has won me games before turn 5 just because my opponent runs out of cards. Like, if you're just pressuring them and they can't negate or they tap out, and you're like, well, this is it, it's sell or bust, and you just go in. It definitely can win games that way with Quad Strike. It's that impactful of a skill to have in a card, especially a free play card. But yeah, like, waiting one more turn sometimes in this aggro format isn't an option, which is why now that the format's supposedly going to slow down, like, you're gonna go for turn 5 almost every game. You're gonna build your deck to play the turn 5 game.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of hints that green is going to be making a comeback for the past, like, 2 sets, with just cards that have been printed and different things. So this is another one of those things, and I hope the card does get a reprint, because then if this card becomes more accessible,
you can actually buy it.
Yeah, because I was never going to spend more than $300 on this card. Like, I was never going to do it. If the card was $150 again, I was like, sure, I'll buy it, but I'm not spending $300 on this card, because there's too many things that have to fall in line for it But the way that I play, it would have been easy, but I'm not spending the money for it. And
Everybody complains about the cards they don't own.
absolutely. Well, it's yeah. We'll move on. We'll move on. What's next on your list?
It's always my list. All right, I have Boo Ball, Majin Quickening.
Oh yeah, this is an easy one.
Super easy.
I don't think the deck's been played. Like no one really plays the deck, and they only play it in best of ones. So I think
That's
why.
it.
Yep.
You hardly ever see Majin Vegeta in a best of 3, and whenever it's in the best of 1, it's an aggro build where they're gonna kill you turn 2. If they get to turn 3, it's because you went first and they went second, and you were able to just not tap out turn 2 and play a topo or negate everything. Who knows?
Yep.
So
that's it. There's no other.
This errata doesn't kill the deck, but it makes them have to build it differently and add a few different cards.
Yeah, and this may be a better fit for what the Reboot Gohan idea of being that multi-strike green aggro deck. And I mean, really, if you play the deck, we've played against the deck obviously a lot. It's a good idea for a deck. And if they can fit that mid-range sort of aggro where they can tempo and go into like that OTK like on turn 3 or turn 4, it's a good deck. But yeah, this is just another reason why they're just trying to kind of slow down aggro, especially in those best one formats.
Until we see what decks take off in this new format in August, this deck going first will still take games like no problem, because that's what it's meant to do. If it gets to 3 energy, it can go into all of its plays with everything that it normally does, win the game, no problem.
Yep.
If this deck goes second and it gets to turn 3, your opponent already has 3 energy, they can stop almost everything you can do with 3 energy open. Yeah. If the game goes to turn 4, because this deck can't push really hard after turn 3, this deck will lose almost all the time. Like, the dice roll will determine the winner of this game.
Mm-hmm. We'll go to. I'll make you bounce around here. We'll go to Catastrophic Blow.
You just want to get this one out of the way. All right.
I do. Yeah, this one I'm pretty happy about. So they are limiting this card to once per turn. I've watched a bunch of videos of people who play Invoker reacting, and they're like screaming at their fans, like, why would they do this? They hate Invoker. And anyone who's ever played against a good Invoker player, which a lot of people haven't, because there's not a lot of people who are really good at the deck, you could kill someone from 6 to 7 life by just looping these cards. It's uninteractable. The fact that it's still allowed in the deck is enough to say, okay, you can have it in there. You can still loop it. You just can't do it on the same turn. You can have multiple of them in your deck. You just can't do them on the same turn. Because this card is essentially dealing 2 damage the way that someone wants to play the deck, because they're going to play the 6-drop, play Cat Blow, deal 2. This is going to force them to have to swing and not just sit there and play defense the whole time. Yeah. This is my TED Talk. That's all I got. It's great. I do think, and you've done this before though, where you've kind of played Invoker in a different type of way, maybe using the 6-drop promo, maybe using other things. I would be interested to see people actually having to change up how the Invoker plays. The deck can't be played the same way that came out in set 9. We're going in the set 14. It's almost 5.5 sets if you include draft box and stuff. The deck hasn't changed anything except for maybe adding 1 card. Like, it's about time they can change some stuff. What do you think?
And we keep referring to the slower upcoming format. I don't know if it's actually going to be slower. They're printing cards that still are like really cheap to play in the archetypes that they're meant to be played in.
Right.
And that can still aggro down damage. So Invoker still has a way to make play the long game, or make the game go longer with all the negates and stuff.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out the right time to burn. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it comes down to. No matter what, your kill turn, you can take them from 2 to 0 with this card. Whether you have to swing that turn to do it, that's up to you. You just can't play, hey, I'm going to leave you with 4 cards in hand and never swing at you. You can take your own life and work your own hand size from there. That it just can't happen anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to have to swing occasion with your leader, use your activate battle on your front side to kind of keep the aggro game going, as well as just mitigating how many cards you're giving your opponent each turn.
Yeah, and I think I would like to see. I'm honestly a fan of the idea of what Invoker does, excluding this card. Like, if you look at everything else, like I like how the deck is set up. Even the Victory Strike, like that. Apex is not a great card. Like, it's a good card, but like they can play it. It can get God Sealing back to your hand. You can play it. It can get Cold Bloodlusted. Any extra card works against it. It's just not battle cards. But the fact that somebody, and I've watched it so many times where I watch a game and the Invoker player swings, draws a card, passes, and then just after he gets Vegeta on board, just doesn't swing anymore. Because it's like, you're just going to, you can take me down to 1. You're not going to kill me. But I'm going to leave you at 6 or 7 life, and then I'm just going to burn you, and then you're going to die. And then you're just going to sit there and just have your hand, okay, Cablo, I'll take 2. Oh, okay. Again? Okay. Okay, I'll scoop up. It's unfair.
It's really hard to talk about this deck because we're not the super experienced players. And as
true.
boring
Yeah.
as it is to look at the same deck list over and over for this list, each player, especially the better ones, play this deck slightly different and understand all the little minor decisions that you have to make when you're negating attacks, when you're attacking, what you're pitching, what you're charging. It all matters in the long game. And now with Catastrophic Blow being you can't just finish the game on turn 5.
Right.
It makes the decisions a lot harder. And as boring as you guys are going to think watching Invoker videos are, I really want the better players who play this deck, have top with this deck, to go out and make video. Like, seriously, I'm challenging you guys. Go out, make a video, and tell me how you're going to play this deck. Because I have my ideas, but I did tear the deck apart. I took it apart. I'm like, I just... Right now, I don't want to invest the time into it. Like, I'll let someone else figure that out.
Yeah.
I was recently... I was recently playing this with the Launch blue-red build, and you could still do the same thing. You can burn your opponent from a really... It didn't change. There were ways to still make the deck function with a leader that it wasn't meant to be played with. And I love that fact about that it could be included in a different archetype. So if you guys have a different leader that you want to try this with, or just some other way to play the deck, whether it burns better, or just is able to even burn 3 damage to finish the game, like, that is enough. We just need to get to that point. So please, if you have ideas, comment on Chris's video, put it out there. Because I want to keep playing this card.
I built the Android 17, the blue U7 leader. Back when this last set was coming out, and just because I wanted to just build stuff, just because I don't play blue, but I wanted just like, hey, maybe I'll make a video on this, but then I built it. I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but you can just play the Invoker leader. So yeah, it's just better. We can go over. So pick your black deck of choice. You want to do Dark Broly or Vegex?
I'll talk about Vegex. Vegex is really easy.
Okay.
The deck felt really good when it worked. When it didn't hit, when you just didn't mill the right cards, the deck felt terrible. It was super good before they added Trunks because you had a build that could burn for the end of the game and also had a nice defensive setup to it. And once they took Trunks away, you lost basically your entire Vegex engine, and it became just, I'm going to mill, hope I hit the 5 cards I can hit, and if not, then I have to figure out what to do with my energy because my hand might not be great at that point.
Yeah.
And you're relying on hitting those cards to accelerate your aggro for the deck. And now that they've made this a burst 3 instead of 5, there's just other leaders that can do the same thing better. And bursting 3 isn't enough to filter through your deck fast enough, where the not losing to deck out is going to matter anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I did watch like one video, and everyone in the video was they're like, oh, now Vegex it's fine, like it's still really really good, and I'm like, okay, like I get it, but you're really not playing Vegex to play Vegex. Like, you're playing it just because, like, you can play that same, like, everyone's just playing the Demigras and the Gogeta TPs. And it's like, you're, now that this leader has a burst 3 function, why don't you just play Son Goku? Because he has built-in double strike. Why don't you play Supreme Kai? Because that engine works in all of those decks. And this leader can't even use the one drop. Can it use the one drop? No, it can. The True Fighting Spirit cards, like the one drop deflect guys.
The Goku, the Vegeta, yeah.
Yeah. So it's I think now the fact that because I'm gonna be playing. I'm gonna be playing Mechikabura a lot. It's my favorite deck, and I had a good matchup against this deck already, being able to warp stuff. But now that you're only putting 3 cards at a maximum, maybe not any, because you're gonna play out those cards. It's easy. It's like, all right, you have nothing in your drop area that you can overrun with. You're not gonna use Demigra. You're gonna have to make sure you have True Fighting Spirits on board to play your TPs, your $100 TP cards. It's fine. I hope they print another Saiyan Xeno leader that fits the type of archetype that this leader plays around, and maybe it's the new Bardock mask, the one from the starter deck that they're doing. Maybe it's that one. Maybe people want to play that one, the reprint of SS3 Bardock.
But I mean, I've looked at the reboot leader. It probably is. It's more built for a multicolor. Like, that's what the leader's for. It's not just all black. But I mean, there's already a Super Saiyan 4 Goku out that came out in the same set that this deck was meant to play into.
Yeah.
So, and that Super Saiyan 4 Goku leader puts stuff from your warp back in your drop area.
Yeah.
So it bursts cards and it puts them back. So it's just a better Overwhelm engine card.
It's pretty good.
So we'll go up to Dark Broly.
Yeah, Dark Broly. So
Go for it.
this is a deck that has, well, quite frankly, one of the most interesting win cons of just being able to play 30Ks out and just swing and just say no combo, and it's fine. It's not fine, but the fact that the problem with the deck, and I think they did kind of cover one of the big parts, which was the fact that all of these cards, granted they have 0K combo, you could just swing with all of them and then just activate battle and then just next turn play them all again. Or on that same turn, if you have 2 Dark Brolys on board, you can swing with them and then swing with your leader, combo them off, and then replay them again. It was too much value, and the fact that all that stuff is free, like, it's ridiculous. Now that they made an activate battle once per turn on the Awaken side, I don't see why Dark Broly players want to Awaken. Like, why would you even Awaken? Because once you Awaken and you get to a point where maybe your hand's not great, maybe you don't have any energy up, maybe you're playing against an aggro deck, you can only combo with one of those cards in your hand and you have a bunch of dead 0K combo cards. Not very good. So I don't think this is going to kill Dark Broly. I think a lot of people are going to move off Dark Broly for sure, because now it's not nearly as free as it was. People will probably still try to make it work, and I'm sure they will, but it's going to be much more difficult now. They need to be more conservative with their energy, because Dark Broly doesn't restand energy when it awakens. It's a draw 2. So you can't get the benefit of playing out a bunch of stuff, awakening, restanding 2 energy, and now you have energy open for a Supreme Kai Negate, a Protector of the People, whatever.
Great job.
Yeah.
It was funny because I was talking about this at an in-person regional. We were talking about what stuff would be banned or what would be errata on this list, and I said all they have to do with Dark Broly is take its activate battle and limit it to twice per turn. Like, put a limit to label that they just started doing, and instead they made it once per turn, which I get even better than I was giving it credit for. I said 2 would be enough, but they took it further, and now I want to tell you that there's just better leaders to go play.
Yep.
You can still play your Dark Broly stuff with other leaders. 30K battle cards are still going to matter.
Yep. I think I don't want them to do this, but I can see a world where they make a different type of Dark Broly leader. because they've been adding more support for it. They have this whole new 30k archetype that they keep doing with Black, where they're releasing all these 30k cards. Mm-hmm. I think eventually, maybe they do a reboot leader. Maybe they print a different type of Dark Broly leader. Maybe it's Paragus, and then he has Dark Broly on the card, so it still counts as a Dark Broly leader. Who knows? Or maybe he has a permanent that makes him count as Dark Broly. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. But maybe they add some stuff to where it changes how the archetype plays, to where it's not so free. Because if people complain about Mecha Frieza playing stuff out for free, Dark Broly does the same thing, but Dark Broly also swings for 30k every turn, while being able to rip cards off of your board and from your hand, and then playing Demigra, ripping cards from your hand, and then playing Gogeta. It's just a lot. They're cards that kill the deck. Violent Rays, the Vegeta Unison from Yellow. Stuff hurts it. Trunks, the Heroic Prospect. There's stuff that hurts it. But you're forcing people to play cards. Like, I hate the Vegeta Unison. I hate it. I hate playing it. I want to play Metacooler Unison in my Mecha Frieza deck. But I can't. I need to play Vegeta to deal with this deck.
That's what sideboards are for.
Yeah, but I want to put like the Trunks Unison in there and stuff. But the last errata card on the list is the Smoke Dragon, and this is a really small change. It's just that your leader needs to be Demon Realm, plain and simple. I think the card was supposed to have that in the first place, but then they saw people starting to play Hatchiyak, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. We can't give Hatchiyak a Unison. We can't do that. And then they took it away.
I mean, we can't give Hatchiyak a Unison that's kind of like free value.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because you can only attack like once per turn with Hatchiyak, and if you're using that to kill off a Unison that's just going to cycle one marker the whole game, it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Yeah. I think the Bardock Unison, the new one, the 2-drop that draws you a card every turn, mm-hmm. I think that's fine. And I think that's a problem for when people are going to play Hatchiyak, because I'm for sure going to build Hatchiyak. It's going to be fun, and I'm going to be sitting there drawing cards every turn. But, I mean, I didn't think this card was that good to have a change to where it's only for Demon Realm Race, because I don't even run this in Mechikabura. Like, there's better options. Personally.
I mean, I have seen people play it just for, like, their early game, because your opponent does have to respond to it, or else you just keep drawing cards. So yeah. There's definitely value in it.
But the card is really annoying, because you do have to, even if you don't have any balls in your deck, you still have to shuffle your deck.
Darn.
That wastes time. Like, every time you do it, like, you -1, you have to shuffle and then draw the card. It's just really weird. It's a whole weird interaction. I think that's it, though.
So it looks like that's the end of the brand new banned errata list. What are your thoughts on the overall upcoming format? Like, what do you think is going to change?
So first question I'll answer. I think the ban list, if I give it a grade, I'm gonna give it like a B+.
No. I saw your grading video. That was garbage. We don't grade things here. We don't grade things here. I would say, I will personally say that I like this ban list. I like the direction that it goes, forcing people to play other decks. It's definitely going to change up the decks that we see topping.
Yeah, I think
it's like players don't have to. Sorry, it's like players don't have to go to an event and expect to play Dark Brawly. Like, do I want to mainboard this just so I don't lose the first game against Dark Brawly and have a chance in the entire series, or like we just don't have to worry about that anymore? And hitting other decks like Mecha Frieza and Vegex, it just mitigates everything that we have to be concerned about when deck building, and will let us push kind of different archetypes in different directions and focus on different strategies.
So this makes me feel like when I first started playing the game back in set 8 or 9, when it was kind of more of a control meta where longer games were going on, and this was back when you could charge multicolor turn 1 and you were fine. I think the biggest deck right now that's going to be more of an issue when it comes to webcams, when it comes to in-person events, overall, I think it's going to be Blue Baby. I think Blue Baby is going to be, if because it already was an okay deck, but now that Dark Broly's taken a hit, and Vegex is not nearly as good, and the whole True Fighting Spirit thing it's not as, like, it's still gonna be good, but I think the deck finds a way to play it around. I think Blue Baby's just gonna play very, very well. I think maybe Yellow Sin comes back and plays, but I do think we see some more control heavy decks. That's fine. I was tired of seeing people die on turn 3. Like, I want to go to turn 6 sometimes and just get stressed out a little bit longer, you know?
We did have a format prior to this last set coming out. There was a slower format. There was a lot of best of 3 events, and you saw a lot of Baby, a lot of Sin, and then you had the couple aggro decks that were still pushing their way through up to the top. But Baby won 2 events. Like,
Yeah.
it's still a strong deck. Nothing has touched it, and it's actually getting more blue stuff that might not be played in it, but there's the possibility.
Yeah, it's just a naturally good leader. Just my leader just says you can't deal damage to me unless I want you to, because I have negates. My entire deck is negates, so it's interesting.
I'm gonna provide a little insight. All those Market Watch videos. Definitely take a look at getting the Jiren from Draftbox. That will counteract the Android 17 coming down.
Yeah.
And take away your entire hand.
Yeah, that card is sideboard for sure.
I don't remember the name of it, but
Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah, today it was $4 when I checked. It's definitely Draftbox cards shoot up all the time, and that's definitely going to be one of them.
Master Roshi's like $7 right now. The blue one, the 6-drop.
The one where he's all muscular.
Yeah.
Hi.
Because the Super Saiyan 3 Goku winning like 2 events. But another card is Deborah Ritual at Hand. You should. It's a super cheap card because it's an uncommon from the last set, from Supreme Rivalry. But the fact that if hand destruction becomes a thing, it even works against when your opponent plays Topo. You just pitch them and then you tap a card and then you draw 2. And any deck that makes you drop cards, any hand destruction deck and whatever, you play that card in. It's gonna be I'm gonna say that the same sort of value that we get out of, or we had out of BMS, you're gonna get out of this Deborah card. When you're playing it in a format where hand destruction and control is bigger, because we're gonna see cards like Cells or Destroying Kamehameha come back. I haven't really seen anyone play it.
It's true. I mean, I want to see what older decks come back. So, prior to, this last set coming out, King Piccolo coming out, we had our triangle was Mecha Frieza, Red Brawly, Baby, Square, I guess.
And Dark Broly.
And Dark Brawly. Those like the 4 big decks that everyone was talking about. And Invoker was up there because it did do well when the better players were playing it.
Yeah.
But those were the 4 decks. And now that 2 of those have taken a big hit, that leaves 2 still on the ringer. And I'm questioning. Obviously, we talked about Baby. Baby's going to be up there. I want to see if Red Brawly makes a comeback. If that is still a viable red deck in the format compared to King Vegeta and King Piccolo that, kind of ran rampant.
I think Red Broly, I don't think the deck's bad. I think the deck is very annoying. But I do think the deck has the ability to kind of fit more into like a mid-range style almost, to where you're going past turns where you actually can play the 6-drop. Most decks you don't really play the 6-drop at. In all reality, most Red Broly players, they don't play the 6-drop. They just charge it because you're not getting to 3 energy because you're going to die before you get there.
Turn 2, you play out the Piccolo. You get the Piccolo unison combo off. You play out the Pan for everything having double strike, and you just push really hard.
Yes. I think there's too much floodgates in the game now, to where, or the free play token cards. There's a lot of stuff that can stop stop Red Broly, but I think if Red Broly switches to being more of a mid-range deck, I think just being able to rip stuff from your opponent's hand, and there's the new the Broly that came out of this set. I don't know if it's good or not. The 30k barrier deflect guy, when he's in rest mode, he does some stuff. He came out with the King Vegeta stuff. I don't remember what it does, but there's that. I think truthfully, I think we're gonna see I think we're gonna see kind of the same stuff from yellow. I think most of us yellow players we're probably just gonna play blue yellow in some sense. There's some interesting yellow decks that are out there. There's one that I play that I really like that I'm not gonna talk about. Because
To make a video of it.
until I make a video of it. But there's one that I really like. But there's some interesting stuff. I think blue is gonna be kind of all over the place right now with the Bojack stuff. I think green's the most interesting one because green has a heavy control deck with King Cold. You then have older green styles like Sail Surge, possibly Gotenks, because if Dark Broly's not being played, Gotenks actually is more viable now. You have the new stuff with Videl, which is basically green launch with skillless stuff. And then you have the new Majin Buu stuff, which could be an interesting deck. Maybe, maybe not. It could be complete garbage. We'll have to find out though. But green is my most... green's the one that makes me kind of quiver a little bit, because if a green deck is really good in the meta, like, I hate playing against green. I used to play green, but I hate playing against green because it's like, cool, I don't get to have cards in my hand. That's not very fun. And I think a good green deck could potentially change the meta around, and that'd be very interesting because I'm actually tired of my yellow cards being so expensive. So if yellow can just kind of suck for a format and go back down so I can get more of my yellow cards, that'd be great.
And I'm going to argue that right now, from the way it looks, King Vegeta is probably the top deck after all of the bans, erratas, all that junk out of the way. I think King Vegeta is the top deck, and then with the surgence of green, because really no one's playing green right now because of the other decks in the meta, I think King Vegeta might fall down to a tier 1 deck, tier 2 deck maybe? And maybe that's pushing the limits, like, hey, it's always going to be one of those top decks. But with green having all the different counterplays and just slowing red down, it matters. And we're going to see a different format here in a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be fun. We'll see. Hopefully I'm still enjoying getting my hand ripped apart just as much as I like all my cards being negged to 0.
Well, not even a hand destruction. Like, you're thinking green solely of hand destruction, but if you play green with like a board control aspect of it,
well, yeah, just like the pinpoint board removal, like with Gotenks or with like that's like, I like that style of green more because it's a little more constructive to be a fair play style rather than just saying you don't get to do anything. You get 2 cards in hand the whole game. Like being able to just like, okay, I'm gonna pick this off, and like the whole idea of I'm gonna drop this card and I'm gonna take off a marker off your unison. That's really cool. And hopefully they kind of keep going in that direction rather than like printing out more cards like the Rebrand card that just makes you drop cards.
Have you talked about Spirit Boost in any of your videos? I don't think so.
I mean, a little bit. I think the Spirit Boost stuff, I think if the game slows down, I think Spirit Boost is a very, very interesting skill because it just gives you free value. Depending on which card, obviously, you're talking about, of course. But, like, for me, like, for instance, like the Bardock Unison, the black one, whenever a marker is removed, you get the Warp of Battle card. That's pretty good. And then you can +1 to draw a card. And you have cards that work in the drop area where you can take off markers and warp other stuff. And then there's a lot of combo that goes with it. And I still didn't get my +2 2-drop Unison for yellow, but that's okay. But a lot of Unisons now, like there's the 2-drop there's the 2-drop 1-drop Android 18 that has a +2 for yellow. There's the Tapion that's a +2 for blue. Green has Dark Broly. That card never dies. That Unison never dies. And red has Jiren and a bunch of other stuff. So like there's a lot of cool Unisons. It'd be cool to see what they can do.
Yeah, I didn't like the skill at first when they first started showing off Spirit Boost cards, because in my mind I was thinking, well, for these skills to trigger, like we were in an aggro format before the ban list was announced. So I'm thinking, like, your Unison's either gonna die immediately, or you're gonna not have any space for counterplays because your counterplays rely on your Unison having markers.
Right.
So Spirit Boost definitely affects a lot of different aspects in the game, and depending on what cards they release, we haven't seen red yet in the upcoming set, but I mean, before Christmas time, we're gonna have another set. We're gonna have the anniversary box. Still has like no cards leaked from it. Those cards can vastly affect the meta with the Spirit Boost skill.
Also, we're probably gonna get multicolor unisons at some point.
That'd be really weird. I don't know.
We're bringing back multicolor, baby, full force. Every leader is gonna be Surge.
Eventually they have to bring it back. Whether it's multicolored battle, like they don't print enough multicolored battle cards. I don't think.
No.
Not that are actually effective. They started doing it with some of the championship cards like Zamasu, but they're not overly powered, and there's not enough to actually make a multicolor archetype viable.
Yeah, not yet. So we'll see. But yeah, I think this overall good errata list, good ban list, good. I think they did a good job. So they hit a lot of stuff people wanted. They hit a lot of stuff people didn't even really know about. They're making people have conversations because they didn't ban certain things. So I think they did a pretty good job. Hopefully, now, we see. I'm more the reason why I like these ban lists because it does make people have to change the playstyle. And that's good every few months. Like, instead of having a rotation, which this game, we're not going to go into that conversation. But it's good. It's banning some cards that, hey, you can't play this anymore. Now what are you going to play instead of it? And hopefully it changes the format, like we said. So, yeah.
Well, so to end the video, I'll ask you one question. What card do you think should have been banned that wasn't?
So this is gonna sound. So it's not. I'm not gonna do a ban. I'm gonna do a limit.
Okay.
So I think. I do think all of the. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I want Dormant to be banned.
I'm not gonna lie.
All right, so I was gonna say something else, but then I just figured, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna say what I really feel. I really want Dormant to get banned. I hate that card. Is it broken? No. I just hate Dormant. I just hate the card. Like, it doesn't negate the attack, but you have the ability to say, okay, you can't attack anymore. Even though Master Roshi is banned, and which is the whole reason why the card was way better than what it is. I just don't like the card. I think in the future they're probably going to print cards where you can get extra cards back from the drop area. I don't like that. I want that card. I just don't. Not a big fan of it. I was originally going to say I want all the Unison counterplay free plays to be limited, but really I only mean God Sealing and Charismatic Villain. But again,
the two that you don't play.
Exactly, but no. In all honesty, Dormant, that's the one card I wish would have gotten hit in some way. That or Demigra, the Overwhelmed Demigra. That card I don't think is fair either. But that's just me. What about you?
Because of what they did do, I'm going to preemptively say a card that I think will get banned or limited to one. And you already said it. It's going to be the Demigra. Because black decks are so powerful with what they can do that overwhelming almost isn't a factor with many of the black leaders now. You just put the cards back in your drop area in one way, shape, or form. And then having the card that can stay on the board and do all the stuff that it does. So we're talking about you draw a card, you warp one of your opponent's cards, and then every time it swings, it warps a card from your opponent's hand.
Yep.
With that kind of threat staying on the board for 2 energy, it causes a lot of not fun interactions and gameplay styles.
Yep. Yeah. And it's too big of a card to where most counterplays don't hit it, and it does too much utility wise to stop your opponent from being able to do anything. Because if you don't have removal for a 30k body, like, what are you gonna do? Like, obviously there's a lot of decks where you have removal, but it's you have some form of spot removal, but most decks don't have the ability to just say, all right, that 30k needs to go, and I'm gonna tap 2 energy to remove it. You can't really do that. There's not a lot of stuff in the game. That card,
right.
Yeah.
Because once you tap out to remove it, next turn here's another one, or next turn I'm gonna go all in and just smack your face with everything I have.
Yeah, the fact you can play the Demigra and the Gogeta TP in the same turn because you can use Xeno Evolve off of that card. You can Xeno Evolve, pull the Goku and Vegeta from your warp to your drop area, and then use those cards to bring out Demigra. It's ridiculous. Yeah. You know what? Just ban them both. That'll make it better, right?
Well, that's all I got. We covered everything we wanted to cover today.
Yeah, I think we're good. So thank you guys for watching on both platforms. Make sure you subscribe to both. Obviously, we'll probably end up doing another one of these. I'm sure, whenever we decide to talk about stuff.
Yeah, whenever there's another thing that actually excites us to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Chris likes making videos all the time. I'm just kind of here when I need to be.
Yeah, I make a ton of shit, but yeah, we'll close that up there. We'll see you guys later.